Y'all know what it is. Tap in. Peace world, what's good? It's White King. You know, we here, we back. You know, we tapping in, never tapping out. That's what it is. Welcome to the podcast. We had, Black Dot Africatown Studios. And we're gonna just, talk about some of the things that's going on, some of the things that's been going on, and the visions for the future as it relates to the work, to building Africatown, our new Black Wall Street. So, to the listening audience, to the viewing audience, when we talk about Africatown, what are we talking about? We're talking about creating space, communities that allow for the beauty, the brilliance, and the best of our Black experience, African diaspora, to be able to grow and flourish, to really have our history, when we think about Sankofa and that principle of looking back to go forward, knowing where you came from to, help chart your path forward. That's what Africatown is about, like using the greatness of our past, our experiences, our accomplishments, and contributions, not only to the city of Seattle or to the United States, but to the world over time as the foundation, or we could say the database for what we want to build in the future. So we think about building a future that is inspired by and honors the greatness of our past. Right. So, the question to the audience that's listening and viewing is, what would you want to see in a thriving Black community that's inspired by the greatness of our past accomplishments, regardless of time or geography? So that means, when that question has been asked before, people are like, well, I'd like to see Black business districts, inspired by Black Wall Street of the past, right? Or some people, they want to see music venues inspired by like the Jackson Street Jazz Legacy in the Central District here in Seattle, or Motown in Detroit, or the Harlem the Cotton Club in Harlem, right? And so those are just some ideas, but educational institutions inspired by the fact that, Africans really invented education and university systems as we know it in ancient Egypt with the mystery schools, or the great literary and educational institutions that, were in Timbuktu. And so wanting to have places that, institutions of education and knowledge and wisdom being shared, again, inspired by those, or inspired by HBCUs here, right here, that have cultivated and facilitated the development of Black brilliance for centuries, right? And so that's the idea, that's the direction, that we are moving, with Africatown, So what does that mean? That means, even when you look at the architecture and the built environment, you can see us reflected, our journeys honored, right? In a lot of cities where Black communities were really reserved to be, kind of urban reservations, now that they've want those areas, they found gold or oil or value again in those communities, our experiences are not only being displaced, but erased, right? And so how do we not have our history only be oral, right? But also be celebrated and recognized in the design of the built environment, the buildings that we see. And I don't just mean murals or plaques, but again, the actual structures of the building reflecting these things and being designed in ways to facilitate, our unique ways of being. And that's something you can see like with the Africatown Plaza, that's gonna be on 24th and Spring. We work with, our architects from the community, took a lot of input from our community, referenced some of the great architects that have been bringing these things forward, like Dr. Sharon Sutton, newer emerging architects like Sarah Zodi, um, Jack Travis, who done a lot around black, architecture, and incorporated these principles into the design that you will see, which is you can see a differentiation between what is standard being built and the design of this building. And then it'll also incorporate black artists that are from the community as well as from around the country and around the globe, contributing art to help tell the story and celebrate, again, the journey of our community here and to here, before here, and then also where we're going from here, right? So those are some of the things you can tap into at, and we want to see this, again, spread across, the whole community, right? Where we are should be reflective of our unique ways of being and facilitate us being our best selves. So that's, some of what Africatown is about. Also, really celebrating that legacy of, Black Wall Street, not just in Tulsa, which was one that is very well known. Rosewood is also well known, but, in Durham, the Black Bottom, there was Black Wall Streets in many places, and those being thriving black commercial districts where cooperative economics and circulating our dollars to sustain us and allow us to thrive have existed. So seeing opportunities, creating opportunities for our entrepreneurs of today to be able to start, launch, grow, become employers in the community. This is where Africatown is about creating space for. So those are some of the things I just want to just highlight, that it's important that we imagine a future, and that we're not constricted to, some of the negative experiences and forces that have shaped some of our experiences, but that we can imagine communities, again, of black beauty, of black brilliance, of, black expression in multiple ways, because there's not, one way of being black, right? And when we think about Africatown, we think about, the black experience being like the African diaspora being a jewel with many different facets, right? So you got, Black American experience, Black Caribbean experience, Black South American experience, Black Central American experience, Black, European experience, Black Asiatic experience, Black Africa experience, which is very, very diverse in itself, right? It's not just one like African, right? It's like East, West, South, Central, North, and many different flavors, When you think about the food, you think about the art, you think about the music, you think about the dance, you think about many different accomplishments, societies. So if we take all of that, then we could draw from all of that. And that's the idea with Africatown. You pick where you want to tap in to some of the greatness, and then you bring your greatness, and that's something new to tap into. That's really the principles and how we're moving. So, time check.
We are at 13 minutes.
Okay, I got a couple more minutes, and then we good. So, we hit a build, once again, so you could time check that and cut that, right?
Yeah.
All right, cool, bet.
It's actually 10 minutes, but yeah.
All right, that's good. That's good. It's still chop it up, So, y'all have any questions? I know y'all been around, but you might still have questions, and then you could just I'll repeat the question and the answer. So you guys want to just ask any questions?
I got a random question. Like, where do you see Africatown like 5 years from now? Like, what is the goal? Like, what does it look like? You know?
Yeah, that's
5 and a 10. You know what I mean?
yeah. So when I think about where's Africatown going to be in 5 and 10 years? Africatown, I'm speaking about Seattle right now, you know, and in the Central District primarily where our energy is focused. We have 5 projects currently in the pipeline, you know, which include Africatown Plaza, which include bringing the transforming the old fire station 6 into the William Growth Center, which include redeveloping 16th and Yesler block. Also includes affordable home ownership. So I see our projects moving forward, but I also see projects that have shared values, you know, the same concepts being represented, because we're not going to build the whole thing by ourselves.
Or you can inspire.
You know, that's the thing, is that we want to inspire others to know that this can be done, right? And so, I imagine there's going to be multiple more projects, you know, within the 5 years and definitely in the 10 years. And the goal and the vision for 10 years is that, you know, we have a thriving Black community where you have businesses you can go to, you have events and experiences you can go to. These businesses are growing and thriving, you know, as far as the entrepreneurs, creating jobs in the community. There's ownership, you know. People are able to, you know, own land, own homes. That's the vision. We have a financial institution. It's just a place where if you stop a young person on the street, you can ask them what you got going on, and they're gonna be able to say, I'm either working on a film, I'm working on a, fashion line, I'm working on an app, I'm working on, an album, I'm working on an invention. They are tapping into their genius, and they have the outlets in the community to do that, and that's the norm, that's the culture. The culture is creativity, innovation, production, not just being consumers. So that we've shifted, the narrative, we've shifted the culture so that, again, we're tapping in and we're bringing out, more of our best selves. And that can be experienced as not just like an exception, but now that becomes the new rule. The new rule. So that's where we're going with. That's the vision, You touch down in Seattle, you can go and tap into a Black community of thriving creatives, entrepreneurs, people that are just making things happen, moving and shaking, community builders, health and wellness practitioners. Like, it's a cohesive, apparent community. That's the vision for 5 and 10 years, and I think it's very achievable. Because if we've done this with kind of the little that we've had, imagine as more people tap in and bring what they have, and start to leverage their resources and do projects that's aligned. And we already see that happening. There's a lot of other things, great things happening, and we just want to see all of the different initiatives, businesses that are starting up, events that people have, film fest, all of these things. We want to see them, shining in the community, So that's the vision, and it's very attainable. And I hope that, what people see that we're doing now can help them know that it's real and it can happen on bigger levels.
I got another question.
Yeah, keep them coming.
So you mentioned you trying to get more Black people owning homes, and I know within the Black communities it's scary to think you'll ever own a home. You're all, people growing up in the projects going lease to lease. And so usually people learn about real estate from their parents who own something, So how does Africatown kind of occupy that space for, Black people who don't know that owning a home is easier than they may think, How do you guys make it easier for Black people to, what do you provide to make it easier for them to own homes?
One of the big challenges that we have in Seattle, around the ownership of homes and land is the cost of land, right? The cost of housing in Seattle is some of the highest in the country, right? It's been a high real estate market, and our historic community is like at the epicenter of that. So, what we have to do is come up with innovative solutions to allow for more affordable home ownership. It's only two things that can happen. Either the cost of housing comes down, or the money that people have to spend on housing goes up, right? Yeah. The price comes down or the income goes up. Now, we're striving to do both, to bring the prices down. That takes innovative, I think, solutions like Africatown, like community land trust homes, where, it's a shared equity model. Thinking about co-ops, which is another co-ops, which is another shared equity model. Finding solutions for particularly legacy Black family owners, property owners in the city, in the Central District, to develop their property in ways that family members can come back or stay on the property. And also at the same time, we want to make sure that more of our community is participating in the economy at a higher level. Right now, if you look at, the average median income of Blacks in Seattle, it's less than half of whites, and so we definitely have to get that number up through, increasing the skills, increasing the businesses and the opportunities for the entrepreneurs to grow. So those are some of the ways that we're looking at, increasing Black home ownership. We don't have all the answers, We don't have all the answers. Some of you have the answers that are watching or listening, and we have to put our heads together, our minds together, and figure out how we organize our resources to increase ownership in our community. So that's something that we're really going to be focusing on more in the next coming year. Really looking at those solutions to facilitate that. Our initial projects are more around affordable rental, because some people are moving out of the community because of the cost of rent as well, right? And so if they're going to rent in Kent, and they're from the CD, we would like to have them still rent here until it's time for them to buy, and then we have to figure out, again, solutions for them to be able to buy and stay in the city, and for those that would like to, so that we can have that Black community. So another major focus is, you can't have a thriving Black community if the people are not well, right? Everything starts with our mental state, right? And we face a lot of forces that are adverse to our mental well-being in this society, in this city. So that was one of the strategies we wanted to start with, which was identifying those people that are working on that, because we're an asset-based community development strategy. That means we start with our strengths. We start with what we do have. We start with what we have done good, and then build on that to address what we need or what we need to do. And so we have figured out ways to be well, even amongst the horrendous experiences that were forced upon us in this experience here in the society. So definitely tapping into that. And then, bringing to the forefront, various different ways of being healthy and well and being well. And so we started our, Africatown Black Health and Wellness, meetup and network to first identify who in our community is doing wellness focused on Black well-being, right? And then, creating that network, that ecosystem of healers, and again, wellness, medical, practitioners, and then bringing them together, increasing awareness in our own community that these things do exist, even having conversations. We've been providing training for wellness ambassadors, to be able to facilitate healing circles, wherever it may be, whether it's around grief and loss, whether it's around, black men having the ability to have conversations that are not common for, women to have conversations, for us to have conversations among each other, right? All these different spaces around, healing ourselves or being well or striving to be in our best self, and then also how we relate to each other in healthier ways that, again, strengthen and fortify us rather than further harm and negatively impact each other, right? So I think that continuing to build on that, to really approach it unapologetically to address our issues, right? You can't. Everyone doesn't have the exact same issues. Even a person, you don't give a person who has diabetes the exact same treatment you give a person who has cancer, right? So, when you think about our unique experience, then we need solutions and treatments and therapies that are related to our experiences, our harms, our pains, et cetera, et cetera. And that's coming more to the forefront. And I think that's something that, we'll just continue to build, create, and facilitate space for. And I think us having space to be safe is like one first step to being better mentally. And obviously, being better mentally is going to produce better physical realities for us.
I got another question.
All right. So I'm repeating. If you notice, I'm repeating. I'm starting it so that it doesn't have to. You could cut out the question in the background. Yeah.
If anything, when we edit it, we can have Mujali do the questions
right,
simplified. But okay, I don't know how good you are on time, but I do have a good question. You got no time for one more? Oh, yep.
Yep, one more.
Okay, so you were saying something like how like blacks people don't make when you look at like white compared to white people, they don't make enough money. How would you say there's how would Africatown make it easier for the black dollar to revolve? How would you say you guys provide that avenue for the dollar to curve back into itself, or concepts you guys may have,
Yeah. So again, with the Sankofa means look back to go forward. Africatown's motto is about looking at our past greatness and building into our future. Mm-hmm. So when we look at Black Wall Street, which was a vibrant, or Black Wall Streets, not just one, which were vibrant hubs of black economic activity where money circulated to sustain, right? Because when you think about currency, it's a current, it's energy that, continues to power and animate a body. So when we talking about a community being a body, a neighborhood of, a group of people, we know in our society, economics and currency, money is the means of transacting energy. And so looking at that inspires us to build our modern day. When we think about Africatown, we think about thriving black businesses providing goods and services that meet the needs of the community, the black community and other people, because our culture and our creativity and the things that we produce are not just valued by our population, right? Look at hip hop or just our culture in general is global. But the benefit of it is not coming back local to the communities that this greatness and this value is being created from, right? And so imagine if the value created from hip hop and black music was going back to the same communities where that talent and genius is created. Right. And so that we're managing that. So we see the office buildings that are, managing these things are in the community. That's important to Africatown. Looking at how do we connect with the black African diaspora, Africa, you know, the Caribbean, et cetera, to have commerce flowing. So again, it's globally connected, but locally rooted, right? And so we have mutually beneficial relationships, you know, that make us more economically sustainable and viable as individuals and as communities. And so these are some of the principles. So, you know, like through Black Dot, which was our primary support, a place of supporting black businesses. We want to give black businesses and entrepreneurs, you know, maybe some of the knowledge and business development, you know, strategies and support and access to capital that they may not have, but need to actually grow the business beyond just being self-employed, but actually being a business where other people are employed and so on and so forth. You know, in the buildings that we're building, we're creating space for black businesses. You think about, you know, the Liberty Bank building, and Earl's been on that corner for 30 years and being able to continue to go forward. We think about Communion, a new restaurant, you know, by a mother-son duo, Christy and Damon, that is opened, you know, I think less than a year and already recognized as one of the 12 new best restaurants in the world, you know, recognized on many different lists, right? And so that allows for dollars to circulate in the community and come into the community from other places. And you think about Chinatown, it's not only, you know, Chinese people, you know, in Chinatown going to the restaurants, you know, et cetera, et cetera. So, you know, again, but it also is a place where you see, you know, the dollars in the Pan-Asian community actually circulating, right? So we look at the same, you know, model, creating more structures to circulate those dollars. Yeah.
Oh.
All right. So you know what it is, man. Why King, tap in, don't tap out. Another episode. Build Africatown, man. That's where we at right now. So I'ma, you know, sign off. Everybody follow, like, share, so others can tap in, because we're not going to tap out. Peace.